Welcome back to Twist in Truth, where real stories turn into powerful lessons. You're watching Twist in Truth, the place where every story has a twist you won't forget. I still remember the exact shade of pink they painted my walls the day after they kicked me out. Ballet slipper pink. Jessica's favorite. The same color that covered my childhood memories as my parents transformed my bedroom into her dance studio. "You're 18 now," Dad had said, not even looking up from his newspaper. "Jessica needs the space for her training. She's going to be a star." Mom was already packing my belongings into garbage bags, not boxes, but bags. Like everything I owned was just trash to be cleared out. My academic trophies, my honor roll certificates, my computer science textbooks, all shoved aside to make room for my 16-year-old sister's ballet dreams. But where am I supposed to go? I asked, my voice shaking as I watched them dismantle my life. I just started my first semester at college. "The garage has a couch," Mom replied coldly, yanking down my coding competition medals from the wall. "Or find an apartment. You're an adult now." An adult. An adult who was working part-time at a coffee shop while carrying a full course load in computer science. An adult whose college fund had mysteriously disappeared into Jessica's competition fees and training programs. That night, I slept in the garage, surrounded by old cardboard boxes and the smell of motor oil. Through the thin walls, I could hear Jessica's music as she practiced her routines in my former room. Mom's voice drifted down, full of praise and encouragement. Sounds I hadn't heard directed at me in years. The next morning, I called the only person who had ever believed in me, my grandmother. "Move in with me," she said without hesitation. "Your grandfather's office is empty, and I could use the company." Grandma Grace was different. While my parents threw money at Jessica's every whim, Grandma watched me. She saw how I fixed neighbors' computers for extra cash, how I spent hours learning to code, building websites, and dreaming of something bigger. "You remind me of your grandfather," she told me one night after I'd moved in. We were sitting in his old office, now my bedroom, surrounded by his engineering books. He built something from nothing, too. Started with one building and ended up with a real estate empire. She pulled out an old leather portfolio. "He left this to me, but I think you need it more." Inside was the deed to a small apartment building in an up-and-coming part of the city. Not prime real estate, but solid. A foundation. "It's yours now," she said, pressing the portfolio into my hands. "Do something with it." That was 10 years ago. 10 years of working every spare moment, learning about property management, real estate development, and investment strategies. 10 years of turning one building into 5, then 10, then a whole portfolio of prime properties across the city. And now, here I was, watching through the one-way glass of my newest luxury building's leasing office as my parents filled out a rental application. They hadn't changed much. Dad still carried that air of entitled confidence, even though his law practice had been struggling. Mom still wore the look of barely concealed anxiety beneath her expensive makeup. They were downsizing, desperate after Jessica's dance career fizzled out despite the thousands they had poured into it. "Miss Chin," my property manager's voice came through the intercom. "The Walkers are asking about the penthouse suite. Should I let them finish the application?" I straightened my designer suit. "I'll handle this personally." Through the glass, I saw Mom's eyes widen as she read the rental requirements. The income specifications alone would stretch their budget to the breaking point, but they were desperate to keep up appearances. This building, the Grace, named after my grandmother, was the most prestigious address in the city. 3 months deposit up front, Dad muttered, flipping through the paperwork. Highway robbery. If only he knew who was robbing him. Send them into my office, I told my manager. It's time for their interview. The look on their faces would be priceless. But more than revenge, this was about something deeper. It was about the girl in the garage, the one they had thrown away like trash, finally showing them what she had become. I settled behind my desk, fingers brushing against Grandpa's old portfolio, my lucky charm. From somewhere in the building, classical ballet music drifted faintly through the walls. I smiled at the irony. The door opened, and my parents walked in. Neither of them recognized me at first. Why would they? The Emma they'd known wore coffee-stained uniforms and second-hand clothes. Emma wore Chanel and had her own driver. I gestured for them to sit, enjoying how quickly they complied. Power dynamics can shift drastically in a decade. Mom started speaking with her polished social voice. We're very interested in the penthouse suite. Money is no object, of course. I glanced down at their application, deliberately taking my time. I see you're currently residing in the Oakwood district. That's quite a change, from a 5-bedroom house to a penthouse apartment. Dad shifted uncomfortably. We're downsizing. Empty nesters now. Empty nesters, I repeated softly. Both your daughters moved out then? Our youngest had a promising dance career, Mom jumped in proudly. She trained with the best companies in Europe. Our older daughter, she paused, her tone dismissive as ever. She moved out quite some time ago. Did she? I finally looked up, meeting their eyes. The silence that followed was exquisite. Confusion. Recognition. Shock. Then horror. Emma, Mom whispered. Hello, Mother. Father, I said evenly. It's been 8 years since the last awkward Christmas? Dad's lawyer instincts kicked in first. You own this building? I laughed softly. This building? I own the whole block. The Grace is just one of 30 properties in my portfolio. But you'd know that, if you'd ever cared to keep track of your disappointing daughter. They stammered, tried to protest, but I held up their rental application. Their finances didn't qualify. Their credit was poor. Their references weren't glowing. Please, Mom finally whispered. We're family. Family? I repeated, opening my drawer. I pulled out an old garbage bag. Remember this? My entire childhood, stuffed into trash bags because boxes were too much trouble. They both went pale. I leaned forward. You taught me a valuable lesson. But unlike you, I won't sacrifice one person for another. You don't qualify for the penthouse. But there is a smaller 2-bedroom unit on the 4th floor, right next to the garage. The word hit them like a stone. Still, pride bent to desperation. They signed the lease. Days later, Jessica stormed into my office, furious. How dare you put them next to the garage? They're our parents. Hello, Jessica, I said calmly. Still practicing in my old room? Her anger faltered. For the first time, she looked small. We talked about sacrifices, about how she'd taken without realizing, about how she had been just as much a victim of our parents' obsession as I had. By the end, there were tears. And for the first time, there was honesty. I offered her something, a role running the community arts program at the Grace. A chance to build something real, something of her own. Over time, everything changed. Mom and Dad adjusted to modest living. Dad found a new purpose in taking on smaller cases. Jessica flourished in the program, discovering her gift for teaching. And Grandma Grace, who had started it all, moved into the penthouse, finally accepting the luxury she had long refused. Years later, we opened the Walker Arts Center together. A place where dance, technology, and creativity lived side by side. A place where both daughters mattered equally. Standing at the podium, I told the crowd, sometimes the best revenge isn't proving others wrong. It's building something so magnificent that the past becomes nothing more than the foundation for something greater. From the garage to the penthouse. From rejection to redemption. From revenge to family. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more twists in truth.